Tonight, rushing waters leave dozens dead and missing as devastating floods sweep through Texas.
Hearing people screams, kids screaming, asking for help.
The latest on rescue efforts and what Christian ministries are doing to bring comfort to the survivors. Plus, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu makes his way to Washington, D.C. The stakes are high as the White House pushes for a peace deal between Israel and Hamas. And big, beautiful win. President Trump takes a victory lap as his tax and spending bill becomes law. What it means for you and the potential political blowback, with Elon Musk lashing out against the bill's hefty price tag, vowing to reform American politics with a party of his own. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
A desperate search for survivors tonight after catastrophic floods sweep through Texas. Good evening in Washington. I'm John Jessup. Well, a major rescue operation is still underway in central Texas. Crews are desperate to find survivors from flash floods with more rain on the way. More than 89 people are dead and dozens more are missing, including children from a summer Christian camp. CBN correspondent Caitlin Burke joins us with the latest. Caitlin, what are we hearing from officials today on search efforts?
John, Texas officials told reporters this morning they're still in the rapid primary search phase. Crews searching on foot, by boat, in the air, using dogs, drones, and many other assets. With a massive area to cover, they face technical challenges with terrain, water, and today, more bad weather. One top question being asked, how could this have been prevented?
After we come through search and rescue, after we come through the process of rebuilding, there will naturally be a period of retrospection where you look back and say, okay, what exactly transpired? What was the timeline? And what could have been done differently to prevent this loss of life?
Officials confirmed the deaths of 27 campers and counselors at Camp Mystic, the Christian girls' summer camp in Hunt, Texas. 10 campers and 1 counselor remain missing.
We need your prayers. We need your prayers.
Coming in alongside the stories of loss are acts of great heroism, love, and sacrifice. First responders have performed more than 850 high water rescues. One Coast Guard rescue swimmer on his first active duty mission, helping 165 people at Camp Mystic get to safety.
I just remembered that, when I got on scene, there was, 200 kids looking to someone for some sort of comfort and safety. They don't really know what my experience is or my rank or my age. They just know, hey, this guy's a professional and he's here to help us.
Camp owner Dick Eastland died heroically trying to rescue campers. His grandson writing, quote, if he wasn't going to die of natural causes, this was the only other way, saving the girls that he so loved and cared for.
He was, a man that made everyone feel safe and seen. He was just an extremely selfless person, and he showed that until the very end.
27-year-old Julian Ryan died saving his family by punching through a window to get them to safety. Witnesses call the flash flooding, quote, an absolute force of nature, the Guadalupe River rising 26 feet in just 45 minutes.
This is the highest anybody that we know has ever witnessed the water in this valley.
Senator Ted Cruz expressing confidence Texas will get through this tragedy, and adding to do so will take unity, love, and the church.
With every disaster, one of the things we see here in Texas is the church steps up and the church helps and the church feeds and clothes and comforts.
Flood watches are still in effect across central Texas, officials warning volunteers to remain vigilant of the weather. According to the White House, President Trump is planning to visit Texas on Friday. John?
All right, CBN's Caitlin Burke reporting. Thank you, Caitlin. Well, here now for more is Bob Burke, a deployment manager with Operation Blessing. Bob, thanks for being with us. We know you're particularly busy. You got a lot on your hands. As Caitlin has reported, and as we saw in her story, we've all seen these images, just utter devastation. Bob, what's it like to be there on the ground and see things firsthand?
Thanks a lot. It's very reminiscent of Asheville. The carnage and the destruction is complete within the water course of the little water valley where the river ran. And in that area, the trees are absolutely destroyed. Anyone that that had their car down in that area, it's been tumbled and trashed. I saw a large dump truck on its side and tilted upwards earlier today. It's just utter devastation in there, and it's a strange contrast to everything beyond that, because this was a very localized flood in this valley for a stretch of 50, 60 miles. And when you get outside of that valley, everything is normal. You've got businesses operating, people going about their normal days. But in this narrow channel where the river was and where it rose to, it's absolute destruction.
It's hard to believe that there's normalcy anywhere near that. Operation Blessing works to assess damages and helps with the cleanup after disasters like what we're seeing right there in Texas. But how do you help the victims and minister in moments like these?
Basically, meet them where they're at. We don't come in with a preconceived notion. We listen to them. We look for ways that we can assist them and just be there for them. This is in every situation we go into. The look we see when we first get there is a look of despair, a look of they've lost their hope. Or over the course of a few days and speaking with them and ministering to them, we're able to see that hope light up again. And that's one of the best parts of this career, is being able to create that and help people get to that point.
So necessary and so needed. I know that we're still in the beginning. We haven't even gotten to different phases of this event. What are some of the biggest needs as we look at things right now in the hardest hit areas?
Well, right now, the real heroes are the first responders and the search and rescue folks. I've never seen a response like this before. There are literally, there have to be 1,000 to 1,500 people, if not more, coursing through this area. There's heavy equipment. They're looking in every possible place to try to find these people that are missing. Our major mission right now is to not get in their way. There's a very narrow corridor. A single road runs up the length of this area, and they've closed off the road to anyone but search and rescue personnel for the time being, and we're honoring that completely. What we're looking to do is we've set up a distribution, and we're doing hot meals for people. Mostly right now what we're doing is we're helping to support those search and rescue people, and then where we can find people that need assistance, we're getting them food and hot meals and boxes of food that'll keep them going for the next couple days. Once that, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, finish your thought there, please.
I was just going to say that once the search and rescue component is over, we'll move in and start recruiting volunteers and working to help these people get back to their normal lives.
We only have a few seconds left. You mentioned Asheville earlier, just in comparison. Operation Blessing is still on the scene there. How long do you think you'll anticipate working in Texas?
That's hard to say. As the search and rescue winds down and we're able to get out into the community and see what the needs are, that'll determine how long we're here. But it's way too early for us to say at this point.
Bob Burke with Operation Blessing, please stay safe. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Well, for more information on how Operation Blessing is helping those affected by the flooding in Texas and to see how you can join the effort, visit ob.org. Coming up, a high-stakes meeting between President Trump and Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Can they broker a Gaza ceasefire and free more hostages? That when we come back. Welcome back. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is in Washington tonight for a high-stakes meeting with President Trump. At the top of their agenda, securing a Gaza ceasefire and the release of 50 hostages still in Hamas captivity. Before leaving Israel, Netanyahu made this vow before reporters.
There are 20 hostages that are alive, 30 dead. I am determined, we are determined, to return them all. And we will also be determined to ensure that Gaza will no longer pose a threat to Israel.
The meeting follows joint U.S.-Israeli airstrikes against Iran's nuclear program last month, and at a time when decisions in Washington could reshape the Middle East. Joining me now to discuss is CBN White House senior correspondent Kelly Wright and Joe Truzman, research analyst and editor at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Welcome to both of you. Kelly, let's start with you first. How is the White House framing this meeting between Netanyahu and President Trump, and how much pressure do you think President Trump is under to deliver a deal that both sides can live with?
John, good evening to you. It's being framed as a very significant, important, pivotal meeting for both leaders. In terms of what kind of pressure President Trump is under, it does not appear that he's under the same weight of pressure that Bibi Netanyahu is under, being pushed by his people, by many of his people in Israel, to end the war now and bring the hostages home. To that end, that's what the President of the United States is hoping for as these two world leaders meet for dinner. This is their third visit since President Trump became president. And top of mind for the president is to make sure that they get to some sort of 60-day ceasefire and have incremental releasing of the hostages. The first increment would be 8 to 10 hostages. The president would like to see them all come home now, but he realizes he's dealing with Hamas, and therein is the rub and the impediment.
Joe, to you, Israel reportedly is now arming rival clans inside Gaza to pressure Hamas from within. Any concerns about arming that group, and how serious of a threat are these groups to Hamas's grip on power? And could this internal pressure actually help drive Hamas to the negotiating table?
All right, thank you for having me on. I think it's an important development. I think it's forced the arming of these clans. It's forced Hamas to direct precious resources to combat this threat. Now, besides violent rhetoric that Hamas has published and stated, they've also published a propaganda video showing that Hamas fighters ambushing one of these armed clans. So the Hamas is effectively, what they're doing is they sent a warning to these clans saying, listen, we can get to you as well, and yes, you are a threat. Now, how will this affect the negotiations? Right now, there's only a few clans that openly oppose Hamas, all right? Now, I think the biggest concern for Hamas more than anything is that these few clans turn into about a dozen clans. Hundreds of fighters turn into thousands of fighters. And now that would pose an existential threat for Hamas. But as of right now, they're more of I would say, a nuisance, but it could turn into a big problem for Hamas if they don't address it.
Something to watch there. Kelly, back to you. Netanyahu has hinted at potentially expanding the Abraham Accords. Is the White House looking to use this moment to bring more Arab nations, say, for example, Saudi Arabia, into formal ties with Israel?
Well, to be honest, that's something that the president would like to do right now. Here at this moment, I would be putting myself in front of what the president and Bibi Netanyahu decide to do tonight during this dinner. We pressed Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, with stories and hypotheses like that. And she wouldn't budge on this in terms of what they're trying to seek in terms of Abraham Accords. But she remained adamant that the president wants to see the hostages released, wants to see hostilities brought to an end, the fighting end, and bringing peace to the entire Middle East, which, of course, would go in concert with the fact that the president would like to see Abraham Accords coming back. He talked about that before. He'll likely talk about it again, but we do not know if that's on the table. It likely will be.
Joe, we heard discussion years ago about Saudi Arabia potentially being one of the nations to join the accord. What would it take for Saudi Arabia to get on board?
Right. I think the Saudis have been very vocal, at least over the last year and a half. Right now, the biggest impediment is the Gaza war, for sure. But also the Saudis want Israel to at least recognize a path for or a pathway for a Palestinian state. But we have to be honest with ourselves here. That can't happen without a ceasefire, a permanent end to the war. So I think this is what's on President Trump's agenda and Benjamin Netanyahu's agenda during these meetings this week. So there's a lot to see, but I think all of this is connected: the war, the ceasefire, the Abraham Accords, and of course the Iran nuclear deal as well. These are potentially big foreign policy wins for the Trump administration if he succeeds.
You just mentioned Iran. I want to ask you, where do things stand right now as far as its nuclear program and how that's shaping Israel's regional strategy moving forward?
Right. Even though it's been about a week and a half since the airstrikes that the United States, um, when they took out some of these nuclear sites, and of course the Israeli attacks, I think it's still a little bit early. All right, to understand what the damage what damage has occurred here. Now, I think the important thing, more than anything, is did the United States and has Israel compelled Iran to stop its ambitions from developing a nuclear weapon? Now, if it hasn't, I think the Israelis will continue their efforts to dismantle Iran's nuclear infrastructure. But I think the United States and, of course, Israel will give as much time as possible for negotiations to occur here, which hopefully will happen in the next weeks and coming months. But again, I think there's a lot of up in the air about this.
Kelly, we're going to leave our last question for you. With tensions rising over trade, President Trump has extended the deadline for his reciprocal tariffs to August 1st. He's also threatening new tariffs on Japan and South Korea. In about 30 seconds, what can you tell us about that?
Bottom line, he wants people to come to the table, conduct manufacturing or jobs here or do trade here and do it in a fair trade, reciprocal way. He's given everybody until August 1st. If those states do not comply and countries do a deal with the United States, it will bounce back to April 2nd, which were the higher tariffs of 10 to 50% on all countries.
And everyone will be watching. Kelly Wright and Joe Trusman, thank you to the both of you for your time and your insights tonight.
Sure.
Up next, a big win for President Trump. His tax and spending bill is now law. Reaction from former ally Elon Musk and his plans to shake up the two-party system next on Faith Nation. Welcome back. President Trump's big, beautiful bill is officially law. The president signed the legislation on the 4th of July following weeks of Republican infighting. Still, he's facing backlash now from former ally and DOJ director Elon Musk, who's critical of the bill's nearly $4 trillion price tag and increasing the nation's debt. Well, joining me now for more is Nathan Gonzalez. He is the editor and publisher of Inside Elections and a Faith Nation contributor. Nathan, welcome to you. So Republicans in the White House have been taking a victory lap. We all heard the B-2 go over Washington, D.C., if you were here this past weekend. How did the GOP get this across the finish line despite the warring factions, competing agendas, and that tight timeline?
President Trump. President Trump deserves credit for this. He also kind of set an arbitrary deadline of July 4th to kind of raise the stakes a little bit. But Republicans, we have to remember, Republicans have the White House, they have the Senate, they have the House, and so it's not like they were turning water into wine here, but they got it done. And they're able to take this victory lap, and it was something that President Trump had prioritized, and it was either the early morning conversations with members of Congress who had questions, or the bringing them to the White House throughout the discussion process in order to make it happen.
So the law extends the 2017 Trump tax cuts. It creates a $1,000 account to incentivize families to have children, gives tax exemptions on tips and overtime pay, and boosts funding for ICE. Nathan, can you talk about what's in the bill that Americans will either like or support?
I think those things that you mentioned are things that a number of people are going to like, and they're probably going to like that the tax cuts are continuing, and so those taxes won't go up. But in general, if this bill does what Republicans say it's going to do, that it's going to boost the economy, it's going to help people bring home more money, and that the cost of living is going to go down, if it achieves those goals, then this bill is going to be popular as it's implemented.
Including Hakeem Jeffress, who broke a House record on the House floor trying to slow roll the process of the vote. But critics point to the hefty price tag, fewer Americans and legal residents who will be insured, cuts to clean energy, and confusing messages like one sent by the Social Security Administration claiming that Trump's tax and spending law will eliminate federal income taxes on Social Security benefits for most beneficiaries. Experts say that is just not true. Are there things in the bill that might put the Republicans' grip on Washington in jeopardy?
I think the biggest risk is on Medicaid cuts. Republicans actually they agree that there will be cuts to Medicaid, but they're saying that it will be cuts to people who shouldn't even be receiving that benefit in the first place, right? It's people who are in the country illegally or people who are able to work but are not working. And so as these cuts are implemented, the voters will ultimately decide whether that's the right decision or the politically popular decision. Democrats believe that there's a lot of risk, and there are people that should be getting that benefit, that it will ultimately be taken from them. And so I think the Medicaid cuts are going to be that's going to be the big discussion in the 2026 midterm elections.
And we know some of that effect doesn't happen until 2027. Nathan, final question for you. President Trump says former DOJ director Elon Musk has gone off the rails. That's his words there, after floating the idea of starting a new political party. If Musk was unsuccessful opposing the bill and failed to flip the Wisconsin Supreme Court race back in April, does he stand a chance to successfully launch a new party that will disrupt the status quo?
No, but we can have a longer answer than that. Even if you take out what Elon's political failures in the past, or even let's take Elon Musk out of it, it is extremely difficult to start a third party in this country. First, structurally, it's more than just filing a piece of paper and saying here's a party. State by state, there are different hoops or things you need to do to get as a candidate and a third party candidate to get on the ballot and to be able to have that party status. But then I think the bigger issue is the ideology.
Right.
You can get a lot of people to agree that they don't like Republicans or Democrats, but what are you going to be for? And that's when the coalition is going to be hard to keep together.
And we're going to have to leave it right there. Nathan Gonzalez with Inside Elections, thank you as always. Coming up, a birthday celebration fit for a giant panda, next on Faith Nation. Finally tonight, a giant celebration of the first giant panda born in Taiwan. The Taipei Zoo threw a 12th birthday extravaganza for their female panda named Yuansai. The panda is the first of her species ever born in Taiwan and a zoo favorite. Dozens of people came out Sunday morning to watch her enjoy her birthday treat, a cake made of ice and decorated with fruit. The panda's father and mother were gifted by China to Taiwan in December of 2008 as a sign of goodwill. Taipei Zoo is currently home to 3 female pandas, and they throw a special birthday celebration for all 3 of them. And looks like she's enjoying her birthday, 12 years and counting. Well, that's going to do it for tonight's edition of Faith Nation. Thank you so much for joining us. We hope to see you right back here again tomorrow. Good night.